What's up? It's Andy, and I'm here to talk about No House Advantage's Thursday Night Football Pick'em contest in what might be a Super Bowl preview between the Houston Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles. Once again, the league has dialed us up, a riveting affair on a Thursday night. My theory, like my semi-conspiracy theory, is that they weren't sure how the Amazon Thursday night games were going to play out in terms of viewership. So I think they're giving it a bad year's worth of games for the most part. And then once they can confirm, okay, the viewership's fine, let's go back to giving them better games on a weekly basis. Because last year they gave us pretty good games. And this is probably not going to be one of them. Like I said, we got Houston going to Philadelphia. They're double-digit underdogs. And maybe we can use some of that information to inform our choices for the Thursday Night Football Pick'em contest. If you haven't played in one of these, here's how it goes. No House Advantage. It's player props and fantasy in a very easy to use platform where you can either get yourself involved in the Pick'em contest, like the one we're gonna do tonight, where you pick a player, it shows you the props associated with that player, then you choose the one you like the most, whether it's, rushing yards or receptions, and you choose over, under. The more you get right, the higher you ascend in the standings and get closer to that first prize. And there's also the versus the house option where you get 5 right and you net up to 20 times your money, but we'll be taking a look at that tomorrow. Today, we got the Pick'em contest. And the first selection in my Pick'em contest draft is DeVonta Smith. I'm going with the over on his receiving yards. Jalen Hurts, he seems to like to feed the guy who didn't eat last week. And last week we had A.J. Brown going absolutely bananas. 3 touchdowns, almost 4. And if you look at his previous huge game, DeVonta Smith did very little. I think this was like week 1. Then the following week, something tells me that they force feed the ball to the other receivers. Because, we've seen DeVonta Smith go off in a couple of separate games this year, and A.J. Brown didn't have to take as much of a backseat, but they kind of featured DeVonta Smith. This could probably be one of those games. Even if it's not like the total is absurdly high. So I'm going to take the over on DeVonta Smith receiving yards. Then I'm going to go to a receiver on the other side of the ball. Brandin Cooks, we know with Davis Mills these last 2 years, he's heavily targeted, especially in a game where Nico Collins is probably not going to play because he's the other guy that Davis Mills seems to like in the passing game. You got to imagine Brandin Cooks in a game where they are double-digit underdogs is going to get his fair share of looks. Cooks with all the looks, give me over 3.5 receptions. Maybe they will try to focus on shutting him down and big play slate. But in those second halves of blowouts, those shutdown corners aren't as engaged as they would be in a 1-score game versus a rival. And then other teams get those free catches, at 5 yards or whatnot. So give me the over 3.5 receptions for Brandin Cooks. Next, I'm going to take a look at some of these quarterbacks. First with Jalen Hurts. What's with these rhyming? Cooks with all the looks, and first with Jalen Hurts. So I'm going to go with the under half of an interception, meaning he's not going to throw a pick against the Houston Texans. Well, the primary reason, the Houston Texans, but the secondary reason in a game where is there a chance that they potentially bench him in the 3rd or 4th quarter if it's an absolute blowout? And if he's not going to see if it's going to be a run-heavy game script because they're up by a lot, which the spread suggests that they will be, or they pull him from the game, it's giving you a slight advantage, just fewer quarters on the field. I guess theoretically that applies to every statistic, whether you want to take his passing yards. But I like him not to throw an interception in this one, so give me under half an interception for Jalen Hurts. Then the other quarterback, Davis Mills, I'm taking the under 1.5 passing touchdowns. It seems a little, I don't want to say too easy, but going up against that Philly defense in there building a primetime game, all that crazy energy around Philadelphia right now with the Phillies and everything, he seems like he's going to be under assault the whole night. That's assault, brother. You know what that's from? So Davis Mills, I'm going to take the under 1.5 because you think of the weapons they have. It's Pierce. And if they get close to the goal line, you got to imagine they're going to give him a couple cracks at it. So to throw more than a touchdown, the only thing you really got to worry about is if it's a beating and in the second half they get like 2 junk time touchdowns or something like that. because I know he threw for a couple against the Raiders, but the Eagles on the road, prime time, short week, that does not seem like a recipe for throwing multiple touchdowns for a quarterback who every given week we probably would take him to throw under 1.5 touchdowns. So give me the under 1.5 touchdowns for Davis Mills. And then going back to the Eagles side of the ball, I'm taking a look at Miles Sanders. And maybe you think in your head, oh my God, the Houston, they're double-digit underdogs. A lot of running in the second half, and Miles Sanders is going to go over 100 yards. I'm worried that they're going to get up and utilize the rotation. You know, some of his biggest weeks occurred when Scott was sidelined, and then it was just him and Gainwell really is more of a passing down guy. I'm worried that if they get up big in the first half, when they're allowing Hurts to throw and get his stats up, because you know he's going to have his before he exits the game, that eventually, if they're up by 2 scores, they're going to utilize more of a rotation. You're not going to, on a short week, waste Miles Sanders and potentially put all this work on him in a blowout win unnecessarily. You know, he's their best back. They didn't trade for anyone. And I also am worried he might get benched a little bit, or at least have his workload scaled back in a beating. So I'm going to take the under on Miles Sanders. And those are the 5 that I have for you on this Thursday night. I'm sure you have some of your own, but always remember, if there are picks that you're not sure about and you hate my picks, go over to Stokastic. They have free projections for this exact contest. And I don't know how they make them. They don't tell me. It's copyrighted. It's in a basement somewhere. It's in like the Edward Snowden files. They're making those files available to you for the Thursday and the Sunday Pick'em contest. So definitely go over there, check those out, and then I'll be back with you tomorrow where I'm going to be versus the house. I'm going to be playing 5 hands of blackjack versus the house. Let's see how it goes. Take it easy. I'll see you then.